They told us downsizing would be easy, cheaper, the start of a beautiful new chapter. But for 73% of seniors, it didn't feel like freedom. It felt like heartbreak, like losing a part of themselves no one warned them about. Linda was 74 when she packed up her life into neat little boxes: donate, sell, keep. She believed she was stepping into a lighter, simpler life. But just a few months after the move, Linda said to me, "Louis, I feel hollow, like part of me didn't make it here." Today, I'm sharing the 5 silent regrets seniors face after downsizing, the real truths that few talk about, so you can protect your memories, your happiness, and your peace of mind. I'm Louis, and this is Better Aging Advice for the Elderly, where real stories meet real solutions for living your best years with strength, dignity, and joy. If you're ready to make wiser, more confident decisions for your future, tap that subscribe button, because your next chapter deserves to be your best yet. Point 1. Emotional loss. More than just a move. Linda didn't just leave behind a house. She left behind the creaky stair where her grandchildren's laughter echoed every summer afternoon. She left the kitchen where the smell of burnt Thanksgiving turkeys somehow made the holidays even more memorable. She left the living room where countless birthdays were celebrated, off-key singing, messy cakes, and all. Our homes are more than walls and roofs. They're memory keepers. Every worn patch of carpet, every scratch on the door frame, they tell the story of a life fully lived. They carry the weight of years spent building memories, the warmth of every holiday, the comfort of every Sunday afternoon nap. When we let go of a house, we're not just letting go of space. We're letting go of a piece of our past. When seniors downsize, it's often seen as a practical choice. Fewer rooms to clean, less yard work, lower expenses. It seems like the logical step. But the deeper, invisible cost? It's emotional, and it can hit harder than any financial savings. Studies show that our brains form powerful emotional bonds with the spaces we live in, much stronger than most people realize. Home becomes an extension of ourselves, a place where our identities are stitched into the walls. When we leave too quickly or under pressure, the brain doesn't just adapt overnight. It grieves. It's the quiet kind of grief, the kind that sneaks up on you when you least expect it. Maybe it's when you realize there's no room for the antique dining table your father built by hand. Maybe it's when the familiar smell of your garden is replaced by the sterile scent of a new hallway. Maybe it's when you reach for the light switch at night, and it's not where it's supposed to be. Linda told me that after her move, small things would catch her off guard. The silence at dinner time without her old dining room. The unfamiliar sound of rain hitting a different rooftop. She said, "It's like I'm living someone else's life, and my life is packed away in boxes somewhere." She said, "I feel like my memories are just fading." And I could hear the sadness in her voice. It wasn't just the things she left behind, but the pieces of herself she'd had to pack up with them. It was the quiet absence of the familiar, the sense of disorientation that comes with living in a space that doesn't know you yet. Linda wasn't just missing furniture. She was missing the layers of herself that had been built into every nook and cranny of that old house. If you're considering downsizing, remember, it's not just about losing square footage. It's about honoring the life you built inside those walls. It's about giving yourself space, not just physical space, but emotional space, to say goodbye properly. Take time to process the weight of what you're leaving behind before jumping into a new chapter. Because when we rush that goodbye, we carry the weight of what was left behind. And sometimes, it's not just the things you miss, but the feeling of losing a place that felt like home. Linda had spent decades making memories in that house. It was a part of her story, her history. When you leave too quickly, you leave those memories behind without ever really acknowledging them. And that's where the real grief starts to settle. There's a reason it's called home. It's where we built our lives. And when we leave without fully processing the shift, without giving ourselves time to mourn what we're letting go of, it's like we're carrying an invisible weight, one that lingers long after the last box is taped shut. But that's only the beginning. There's another regret that often sneaks in right after the move, and it hits even closer to the heart. Point 2. Disconnection from family and friends. In her new, smaller space, Linda thought she'd have everything she needed. A cozy living room, a simple kitchen, just enough. But she didn't plan for what she was giving up. There was no spare bedroom for her grandkids to pile into for weekend sleepovers. No long dining table to stretch out Sunday dinners filled with laughter, second helpings, and stories that lasted long after dessert was done. At first, everyone promised it would be the same. "We'll still visit," they said. "We'll make it work," they said. But over time, the visits grew fewer. The calls came less often. Family gatherings felt rushed, squeezed into cramped spaces that didn't feel like home anymore. Linda told me, "I didn't just lose a house. I lost the heart of our family time. And it wasn't anyone's fault. Life just shifted." When you downsize, it's easy to think you're only giving up extra rooms or a big backyard. But sometimes, you're giving up the space that made gatherings possible, the comfort that made family and friends linger longer, the familiarity that made people feel like they belonged. And the truth is, relationships are living things. They need nurturing. They need space to breathe, to grow, to stay strong. When space shrinks, sometimes, unintentionally, so does connection. Psychologists call it the social footprint, the places and rituals that help relationships stay rooted. Take away those roots too quickly, and even the strongest bonds can wither a little. Linda found herself more alone than she expected. It wasn't that people stopped loving her. It was just harder to gather, harder to stay, harder to keep traditions alive. If you're thinking about downsizing, ask yourself, is there room, not just for you, but for the people you love to feel at home too? Maybe it means finding a way to keep a guest bed ready, or a table big enough for laughter, or simply creating new traditions that fit your new space, so no one feels like they've lost a second home. Because downsizing your house shouldn't mean downsizing your relationships. And when the people fade, that's when another hidden cost begins to creep in. A cost most seniors don't see until it's already settled in. Point 3. The hidden financial traps. At first, downsizing seemed like the perfect solution. Cheaper, simpler, and lighter. Linda thought she was getting ahead, cutting costs, saving money. But reality had a different story to tell. When she added it all up, the realtor fees, the moving costs, the temporary storage for what didn't fit in the new place, it wasn't the savings she expected. It was a financial burden she hadn't prepared for. Linda spent nearly $28,000 just to make the move, all in the name of saving money by selling her larger home and cutting back. And here's the kicker. Nearly 6 in 10 seniors who downsize end up facing more financial stress than they had before. The hidden costs pile up fast, and many of them aren't obvious until after the move is already done. Think about it. You sell your home, but then there are the condo association fees, the higher utility costs in smaller but less efficient spaces, the unexpected repairs that come with older buildings, or the new renovations required to make things livable. Linda had a hard truth to swallow. The savings she hoped for just weren't there. It wasn't just the money lost during the move. It was the ongoing costs of maintaining a new, unfamiliar home. She thought she'd be free from the constant worry over bills. But in reality, she found herself juggling more payments, more unexpected expenses, and a lifestyle that felt tighter than ever. It's a trap that many seniors fall into, thinking downsizing will bring immediate financial relief, only to discover that the real costs creep up slowly, silently, and steadily. And let's not forget the emotional side of it. Linda had to let go of treasured belongings that didn't fit. Some of her favorite pieces were sold at a fraction of their value, just to clear space. The cost of that loss is hard to measure, but it's real. As she packed away years of memories, Linda couldn't help but feel the weight of the choices she had made. Some of the items she had cherished for decades were now gone, sold or donated simply because they didn't fit in the new place. And while they may not have had a monetary value, their worth to her was immeasurable. Then there was the ongoing challenge of making her new space home. The walls felt unfamiliar. The corners of the rooms never quite felt right. It wasn't just a matter of getting used to the new floor plan. It was a matter of leaving behind a place filled with history and warmth. Linda realized too late that downsizing wasn't just a physical move. It was an emotional one too. It was about leaving behind a life built brick by brick, memory by memory. And while it's true that she saved some money on the surface, the cost of that emotional loss was more than she had bargained for. And even when the money settles, there's another loss no one expects, one that affects your peace of mind, your security, and your sense of stability. Downsizing can feel like an escape, a fresh start. But if you're not prepared for the hidden costs, the emotional and financial strain, you might end up feeling more trapped than before. Take your time, do your research, plan carefully, and consider every hidden cost, not just the financial ones. Because sometimes, saving a little money can cost you more than you expect. Point 4. Losing the familiar rhythms of life. Linda missed more than just her old porch swing. She missed the familiar sounds of her life. The morning hum of the coffee shop down the street, where the barista knew exactly how she liked her coffee. She missed the friendly neighbor who waved from his bike every afternoon, the one who always stopped to chat about the weather or the latest news from around the block. And it wasn't just the people. It was the little things, the tree outside her window that bloomed every spring, its petals carpeting the ground like a soft memory. It was the path she walked each morning, the one where she knew every crack in the sidewalk, every curve in the road. It wasn't just about comfort. It was about the rhythm of her day, the steady, familiar dance of living. Home isn't just four walls and a roof. It's the collection of daily joys, the routines, the faces, the little touches of life that make each day feel like your day. When Linda downsized, she didn't just lose a bigger house. She lost the gentle rhythm of her life. The things that used to fill her day with ease now felt distant and disconnected. Her new neighborhood was different. The street was quieter. The coffee shop wasn't just a block away, it was miles. The neighbor who used to wave from his bike, he was a stranger now, a face she passed without recognition. It's easy to think that downsizing is about adjusting to a new space, a new chapter. But what no one tells you is that it's also about adjusting to the loss of what once felt like home. The things you took for granted, the rhythms of your life, are suddenly gone. Linda felt the emptiness in the small moments. She told me, "It's hard to explain, but I miss the way things used to be, the small things that made me feel at home." And when those rhythms slip away, it's easy to feel unmoored, disconnected from your own life. You think that moving to a smaller space will simplify everything. But the truth is, you can end up losing far more than you bargained for. Not just space, but the heartbeats of your day. The old routines, the familiar places, The simple moments that made every day feel like it belonged to you. They're not just conveniences, they're your anchors. When they vanish, something deeper is lost. Linda found herself standing in a new kitchen, a new living room, and realized that it wasn't just the furniture that felt out of place. It was the life she had built around those spaces. The life that had grown so naturally in the rhythms of her old home. At times, it felt like she was living in a house that wasn't hers. Like she was visiting someone else's life, trying to find the missing pieces that would make it feel like home again. Now, each morning, Linda would wake up, look out the window, and wish for the sound of the coffee shop's door chime or the familiar smell of her old garden. And every evening, when the silence settled in, she'd feel the absence of the old conversations with neighbors, the laughter of friends at her table. Downsizing wasn't just about losing a few rooms. It was about losing the small things, the daily rhythms that once filled her life with joy and purpose. And perhaps the most painful regret of all is how quickly these decisions are made, without realizing what's truly being left behind. When we rush to downsize, we often fail to notice the quiet things that matter the most, the routines that give us comfort, the familiar faces that remind us who we are, the spaces that tell the story of our lives. It's not just about the house. It's about what you're giving up when you let go of all that is familiar, the heartbeats of your life, the things that made you feel connected to the world around you. Point 5. Rushed moves, lasting regrets. Linda said to me, "I just wanted to get it over with." The move felt like a race to the finish line, something she had to do, and fast. She wanted to get rid of the clutter, lighten her load, and start fresh, but the reality was more complicated than she imagined. She wished she'd taken more time. She wished she'd slowed down, listened to her heart, instead of just following advice from others who didn't fully understand her needs. Downsizing should never feel like an obligation. It shouldn't be rushed, driven by pressure, or done out of fear. It should be a decision made with clarity, confidence, and care. Linda felt like the clock was ticking. She didn't want to be burdened by a house too big for her, by all the upkeep and the extra responsibilities. She thought it would be simpler, just make the move, and everything would fall into place. But in the rush to simplify her life, she found herself missing things she hadn't even considered. The quiet comfort of her old home, the space to breathe, and the time to let her emotions catch up with her decision. Downsizing is a big life change, and like any major shift, it deserves time and thought. It's not just about cutting costs or lightening your load. It's about honoring the life you've lived, the memories you've made, and the people and places that have shaped who you are. So many times, we're told that downsizing is the next logical step, a way to make life simpler. But it's not always that simple. Too many seniors rush into the move because they're told it's the right thing to do. They think they're supposed to downsize, that it's the next step. But what Linda learned the hard way is that when you rush, you miss the opportunity to truly evaluate what matters most. She said to me, "I didn't realize what I was giving up. I was so focused on getting it over with that I didn't think about what it really meant." She didn't realize how much she'd lose, not just in physical space, but in emotional space. That feeling of being disconnected from her own life, from her own past. The house she left behind wasn't just a home, it was a part of her. Making a rushed move means making decisions without the space to reflect, to feel. And when you don't take that time, you're left with regrets that won't fade as easily as the boxes you packed. You can't just move your belongings. You're moving memories, emotions, and a lifetime of experiences. And those need time to process. Downsizing isn't a quick fix. It's a choice, a choice to embrace a new chapter with intention, not out of panic. There's no rush. There's no clock ticking down on your life. You get to decide how and when this chapter ends and a new one begins. Before you make that move, take the time to listen to your heart. Ask yourself, what do I really need? What do I want to carry with me into this next phase of my life? What truly makes me feel at home? What can I let go of? And what must I keep to honor my journey? You deserve to make this decision on your own terms, not someone else's timeline. Honor your life, honor your journey, and give yourself the space to move forward with the confidence that comes from knowing you made the right choice, not the rushed one. Remember, this is your life, your decision. Because when we make decisions out of panic, fear, or pressure, the regrets can last far longer than the move itself. And those regrets? They often outlive the boxes, the stress, and the quick move you thought would be the end of it. Take your time, make it your decision, and honor the life you've lived. Have you faced the question of downsizing or already made the leap? I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Your experience could help someone else more than you know. And if this video gave you new perspective, tap like so others can find it too. Subscribe to Better Aging Advice for Elderly, and let's keep building your strongest, happiest future together.